Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good.
You guys are very quiet today. Good morning. It's lovely to have you all here. My name is Beth Carter, for those of you who don't know me. It's nice to be here today with you all. I am not the Reverend Dr. Tony Ubaldi. I am the certified lay minister of this congregation. He is away on vacation this week and will return with us next week. So welcome to you all. I would like to take a couple of moments. I'm going to make a switch this morning, so I apologize. If you need a pencil, that'd be great, or just remember, because I wrote it down and maybe I'll remember. I'd like to do a little swap this morning. So we're going to get up in a moment, pass the peace, welcome one another personally, and then I'd like to do the opening hymn before the call to worship, so we can center ourselves and be ready to start our worship service. So, well, we're not doing anything yet. So we're just going to pass the peace. So if you would like to all rise and welcome one another, greet one another with Christian love, that would be a fantastic time to do that now.
Yeah, they've all been.
you would all remain standing as you are able and join us in the call to worship number 780, Psalm 46 in your blue hymnal.
God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble.
Therefore, we will not fear,
though the earth should change, though the mountains shake in the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with tumult. There is a river of streams may go out of the city above, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of the city, which shall not be moved. God will help it at the dawn of the day. The nation rages, the kingdoms totter, God's voice resounds, the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. A mighty fortress is our God, a bulwark never failing. Come, behold the works of the Lord, who has wrought desolations in the earth. Who makes wars cease to the end of the earth, breaks them out, shatters the spear, burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I am exalted among the nations. I am exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. A mighty fortress, is that the end?
Yes. Thank you, Joanna. You may be seated and relax for a little while, for at least 50 minutes. I have a few announcements. So you have an insert in your bulletin that contains most of the announcements that we need to have, but some other ones have come in and some that I want to make sure we really highlight. Pat Severson called the office this week, and they have a recliner that they would like to give away to anybody who would like it. So if you would see myself or Maggie waving over there, if you would like a new recliner or a used recliner at your house, you're welcome to let us know. They're getting a different one for Dick that's more usable for him in his current situation. There is some information about the Christmas tea that is happening on December 13th. The entertainment for that will be children from Sunshine School, which is always a fun thing. It's nice to have that back. I do want to point out, yes, we need pledge cards turned in. So if you haven't done that, you have an opportunity to do that so that the Finance Committee and our treasurer can do budgeting for all the exciting things that we want to do for next year. Let me sort through all of my many pieces of paper. There is a letter posted outside in the hallway on the bulletin board about from Bishop Dick. And many of you know Bishop Carcano has been reassigned to our conference, though she is still on suspension until whatever is going on gets resolved. But the Western jurisdiction has asked Bishop Dick to serve again as our interim bishop. There's a very lovely letter from her out in the hallway saying that she is accepting that position. She will be working with our cabinet over the next year or until another resolution has been made. But she's looking forward to outlining her ideas and thoughts on what the church can do, what the conference can do in the time ahead. So I would encourage you to take a look at that in the hallway on your way to coffee later. And then the last thing, you will be receiving some emails about an Advent service that I'll be doing, a midweek type thing. It will be here in the education room and on Zoom. But I'm going to use the upper room Advent guide. So there are 3 more upper room booklets over there for November, December. So I'll be using that. And I will also be sending out the text of that before each of those. There's some scriptures. There's a prayer, and then there are some questions that we can discuss together over this Advent season. Any other announcements that I may not have mentioned that are not in the bulletin? Yes, Scott.
So the Comida distribution was yesterday morning, and they had some leftover boxes of produce, which we're making available to the congregation after the service. So please help yourself.
So if you didn't hear that, Comida Para Todos had some extra fresh fruits and vegetables. They are outside. They look fantastic. I'm kind of sorry I went to the grocery store yesterday. But that is a great gift that they are giving back to us. So they are a group that gives and gives and gives. So we appreciate having them here. Now, if there are no other announcements, I know that we're starting some new traditions with Joys and Concerns. So what I would like to do, after I get this on, what I would like to do is start over on this side of the room, if we can do section by section. And if you have a joy, if you have a concern, please share those with your public now. Your community, sure, absolutely, thank you. What a great young man. Please feel free to share those now, and we'll just go around the room and make sure everybody's are collected. If you prefer not to share yours publicly, we do have some slips in the back. We can certainly have someone grab one of those for you, and they can either be read out loud or kept in silent prayer. But go right ahead. We've got some news over here, I bet.
Just wanted to let you all know, prayers for Ginny. She makes her way home today. She's
Oh,
really
good.
excited about that.
Yeah. As you all know, my 4-year-old grandson was diagnosed with leukemia in August. It's a very long journey for treatment, and he's doing fine. He had a major treatment Friday night, and they thought maybe he'd need to be in the hospital 2 or 3 days because of the side effects. But lo and behold, they got home last night, which is good news. They also sent me a picture of him in his hospital bed, and on top of the blanket, the hospital bed was Candy's beautiful. Well, my daughter wore the prayer shawl, but she made a beautiful little blanket for him. So I have a beautiful picture, which I can share with you, of her exquisite work on top of him, and I'm sure that helped him get through the procedure, and I know it helped the parents with the need for courage and strength at this difficult time. And we hope continue to see progress. Thank you so much for your prayers.
Amen.
So mine is a concern, and it is regarding the homeless that are here in Sonoma Valley. The weather has been getting extremely cold at night. And there is no winter shelter that I'm aware of this winter. So prayers for those who are out in the cold without a warm roof, a warm bed, and a roof over their head.
And I'm thankful for our boys are doing okay. Robert's not going to go to UCSB anymore, but he is going to live down there and work full time and kind of figure out where he's going. But he's doing well. And James is doing well in Okinawa. We've gotten him to start communicating again. So all is better in my heart.
Prayers for me. I'm on dialysis, and the day after I'm dingy. So if I look a little dull, it's because this is the day after. So, but I do wake up by midday.
Hey, after arduous 5 years of practice and study, I earned my pilot's license this last Tuesday.
Somebody to buy him a plane.
Yeah. So there will be a special offering.
That's not what you're pledged for.
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for all your prayers and support. This church has been really like a huge help in me kind of chasing that dream, and I just appreciate all of you. Thanks.
Well, we're back to wearing our masks because yesterday Justin's wife, Jessica, tested positive for COVID, which made them cancel their plans to go south to visit her family and her new little niece. So that's all over. And then Jeremy's girlfriend also tested positive, and they were supposed to be Thanksgiving guests with us. So we don't know what's happening, but it's not over. So we're wearing our masks again. So So
Any other? I think that we need to share some sort of concern for what's going on with your left hand.
So on Monday, I was playing basketball and my goofy brother ran into me and I fell this little bone right here and I didn't know it was broken. And then like 3 hours later, I just went home because it was hurting too much. And then we wrapped it. And then the next day after school, we went to the doctors and they said it was broken. And then the next day I got it casted. So
Boys. I love these boys. You didn't do it on purpose, did you? Okay, good. Because that would be a different conversation and we wouldn't be having it right here. So as we start to prepare our hearts and minds, I do want to lift up some individuals and concerns that have happened throughout the last couple of weeks. We have some grateful news for Dan and Bobby's son-in-law, who is, I understand from last week, is cancer-free. Surgery went well, cancer-free. New baby Huey, everybody's doing well. But we also have some concerns of the community with one of the new bishops that was recently elected, who is now under the gun because he's openly gay. And that's heartbreaking in a world like today. There was also a shooting last night in Colorado at an LGBTQ nightclub that all we know is that people got injured, people died, and that's about it. But the people at the club who were having a good time were the ones who were able to disarm the gentleman.
And Beth, there were 5 dead, at least the last I heard, and 18
Yeah.
with one gun.
Yep, it happened very quickly. So prayers for that community and for all involved, including the suspect and the suspect's family and friends, and the way that really decimates a community. We also have some concerns from last week and just ongoing. Somebody's Aunt Marie was listed last week, who's recovering from surgery. Kathy Hegeline, who was a teacher at Sunshine School, has been undergoing surgery and treatment for cancer. Daniel had a bad fall. Ginny Levitt, who was mentioned earlier, is coming home very, very soon. It'll be great to have her home after her fall. And then we have Co and Esther Abe, friends and family of Scott Bevan, Alice Biddle, Caroline Dillman, George Farnsworth, Jean and Darlene Fish, Kira Feebig, Robert Glennon, Nolan, Jennifer, and Tito Gran, who were mentioned earlier, Dee Gunn, Mark Henneveld, Ron and Jean Hoffman, Jean Hopeman, Dan and Bobby, Jonathan Kiley and Aaron Luger, Augustus Manley and his family, Doris Pittman and family, Judy and her family, Wyota, Dick and Kay Rowland, Dick and Pat Severson, Sally Tuller, Ann Ray, Ann and Norm Ray's daughter, Lindsay, Ann's brother, Lawrence, and all of those who lead us and care for us and live with us and live around us, who are affected by what affects our community. So if you would join me in singing the centering song as we prepare our hearts for prayer. Lord, we come to you today knowing that you are there, you are with us, that you are always faithful to us, even though we may lose sight of you. Lord, we have lifted up many, many in our midst, in our community, and far beyond who need you, who need only what you can provide, who need your healing touch, who need to feel your arms wrapped around them tightly, knowing that you will follow and lift them no matter where they go. Lord, we've lifted up those who are broken, those who need healing of body, soul, and spirit, and mind, and all of these things. Lord, we know that if we come to you, you will be with us, but you need to know that we are human, as we always will be. We lift up to you now those who are victims and those who are survivors. We lift up to you now those who are strong and those who feel weak. We lift up to you now all of us in our presence and those who are far away. Lord, we ask for your healing. We ask that you take these joys that we have shared and multiply them so that they can keep us moving forward and motivated and excited to want to be out in the world in your presence. And Lord, most importantly today, we lift up all of those things that have been left unspoken, those things that give us happiness, those things that give us sorrow. And we ask that you carry those along with us so that we don't feel the burden and only feel the love. Lord, we ask that we can always be reminded of the prayer that Jesus taught us, knowing that it is always with us, just as you are. Lord, our Creator, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. And we actually have a couple of young men here today. I don't like to call you children because you're not really children, but you're not adults. So if we want to sing them into worship, that would be great. You don't have to get that out unless you really want to. Gentlemen, what's coming up? What else is coming up? Is there anything in between there? Advent, thank you. He's injured, that's why he's not thinking clearly. I get it, I get it. What is Advent all about? Jesus' birth, it's the waiting time. Well, what do we do besides Thanksgiving? What do we do between now and the beginning of Advent? Well, I'm planning on doing some things, but then I also have a job. You don't even have school this week, do you? Oh, to be a kid again. One of the things that we do is we get ready to wait. So this time I can't sit down or I won't be able to get up because I have boots on. But we get ready to wait. So this week, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, you'll get to hear this again, lucky you. But we're going to spend some time from today to next Sunday preparing to prepare and waiting to wait, because we have a lot that we can do besides being thankful. We can rest in not having to go to school, but we can also rest in the promises that we know are coming, the hope, the love, the peace, the joy that we celebrate during Advent, so that we can be ready for Christmas, for that rebirth inside us of our faith, of the excitement of what's to come. What date does what start? Advent starts next Sunday, the 27th. Are you going to be ready? We've got a week to prepare now. You're going to wait to wait? You'll find out in a little bit if you pay attention. So now you have to pay attention. Now, if you were 2 years old, I'd have a different message. But now you get the excitement of knowing that we've got Thanksgiving in the midst of this waiting to wait, and you get to be grateful and you get to remember all of those things that are to come. And you've got the time to do it because you don't have to go to school. You don't have to go to work. You can't play in the snow because we don't get snow. Back where I came from in the olden days, we had snow. But I live here now. You get to heal. You get to apologize to your brother every day now until he gets his cast off. Oh, bummer, 6 weeks. But you get to now think about what's going to happen in Advent. And you get to prepare your mind, you get to prepare your heart, you get to prepare your house, you get to prepare your relationships with your friends and family, and get all of that ready so that when Advent comes next week, your heart is open for all the possibilities of God's love. All right, can you do that with me? All right, now you have to go sit down and pay attention to the sermon. So I'm going to ask Joanna to come up again, please. The scripture this morning was actually a challenging one for me because during this time we're thinking about being thankful. I think I muted myself. Sorry about that. We're thinking about being thankful because we have the big Thanksgiving, but thankful didn't seem the right words. And, you know, the New Testament scriptures were all about Jesus on the cross. And it just seems, and I know that the lesson in that is forgiveness and all of these things, but it just seemed really awkward to me. And so reading the next passage that Joanna's going to read for us today felt a lot more hopeful and full of promise. And I hope that this really does prepare us to wait.
This is Jeremiah 23, verses 1-6. Woe to the shepherds who are destroying and scattering the sheep of my pasture, declares the Lord. Therefore, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says to the shepherds who tend my people. Because you have scattered my flock and driven them away and have not bestowed care on them, I will bestow punishment on you for the evil you have done, declares the Lord. I myself will gather the remnant of my flock out of all of the countries where I have driven them, and will bring them back to their pasture, where they will be fruitful and increase in number. I will place shepherds over them who will tend them, and they will no longer be afraid or terrified, nor will any be missing, declares the Lord. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will rise up for David a righteous branch, a king who will reign wisely and do what is just and right in the land. In his days, Judah will be saved, and Israel will live in safety. This is the name by which he will be called, the Lord, our righteous Savior.
Thank you, Joanna. Well, I kind of gave some of this away already. Maybe I should have you guys start this. Would that? No, it's okay. You guys rest. You've got a big week of work ahead. It's almost Advent. It's almost that time that we get to take all of these things that we've learned throughout our lives.
Centering song or hymn of preparation?
Oh, yes, we do have a hymn of preparation, don't we? Can we do that after the sermon? Would that be okay? Since I already started and anyway, sorry, Elliot. Thank you very much. The voice in the back is the great and powerful Oz. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So we'll do that afterwards because it is one of my favorite hymns. But it's time to start taking all of these things that we've learned about Jesus all our lives and apply it to the next 4 weeks, which works and sometimes doesn't work. But what it can do is it can help us to resurrect him in our hearts throughout the season of Advent. It's almost time to bake the cookies and to lay them out for Santa Claus and to trim our tree. And well, really soon we're going to slice some turkey. But what's really important is that it's almost time, but yet it's not. So now we get to prepare to wait. We get to wait. So much happens in these next 7 days. There's so much to do and discuss and ponder and prepare. I was reminded last week or early this week or something that today is also known as the Reign of Christ or the Feast of Christ the King. And I know that a lot of churches celebrate that, but a lot of churches are trying to move away from the language of reign and ruler and king and master and things like that. And that's one of the reasons that I picked the scripture that we have today. If you look at what's happening in the beginning of that, they, just like we, are hoping that something's going to come and save us from ourselves. The beginning of Jeremiah offers God's word through this one prophet. Woe to the shepherds who are destroying and scattering the sheep of my pasture. The fact that God spoke to Jeremiah to deliver this message must have meant that something was really wrong. If you read it in other translations and editions, that some of the language changes are really interesting. The leaders of my people are sure to be judged. They were supposed to watch over my people like shepherds watch over their sheep, but they're causing people to be destroyed and scattered. And another one reads, you leaders of my people are like shepherds that kill and scatter the sheep. You were supposed to take care of my people, but instead you chased them away. This reminded me as I was reading of all those scriptures that warn of false prophets and teachers who lead their pupils to ruin. And the prophet Jeremiah is delivering this message of woe and fear. But at the end, there's a hope. There's a hope in God's promise. God always promises, and you can read it everywhere in scripture. God promises to make things right, or at least better. John Wesley was a huge fan of the Psalms. This will connect, I promise. He believed that the Psalms should be part of our everyday life and certainly part of every worship experience. I understand that, and I am really fascinated by his love for them, which makes me want to study them more. Our call to worship today, Psalm 46, was a perfect companion to our Jeremiah passage. The nations are in uproar, the kingdoms totter, he utters his voice and the earth melts. The Lord is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Come behold the works of the Lord, see what desolations he has brought on earth. And then I have to say to myself, did he really do that? Did God really do that? Or did we do that? God makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow, he shatters the spear, he burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I am exalted among the nations. I am exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Both this and the Jeremiah text find the writers aghast at the destruction going on around them that they and their people brought upon themselves, just like we do. Yet God still offers a promise. God is still there in their midst, in our midst, to give us strength and courage to speak, to break the bow, to shatter the spear, to bring us all back into the pasture with the shepherd, to give us peace in our hearts so that we can have peace in what we know is God's land. God will bring the people home from the lands to where they are scattered. God will promise always to call and equip those leaders that you need, that we need, who will care for all of us like the shepherds care for their sheep. All of God's people will be there and they will never again have need to be frightened. Like real shepherds, which brings together, I'm sure that you're coming to this conclusion some way, of another very familiar psalm. The Lord is my shepherd. The Lord of the contradiction of chaos and comfort will care for me. Even when I go astray, I will find that the Lord has never left me. Even when you go astray, you will find that God never left. God's always been there. We're the ones that do that. So what does all of this really mean for right now today as we start to prepare? I'd like to think that this gives us some remnant of a little bit of hope that no matter what we do, what destruction we bring upon ourselves, that all we need to do is to ask to be brought back home to the God of salvation, the God of Jacob, the God of Jeremiah, and the God of the resurrection. Truly, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. As we sang this morning, a bulwark never failing. Let's give thanks for that. Let's give thanks for that. And speaking of Thanksgiving, I didn't really forget. I know we're all going to have a big meal on Thursday, and the Rays are probably going to have leftovers because nobody's coming. But wait, I don't actually ever really think about Thanksgiving. At least not the way that the Charlie Brown special. Have you guys seen the Charlie Brown special? Okay, I wanted to make sure you weren't that much younger than me, which you are. Not the way we were taught in elementary school or on TV or in any of those things. What I find myself thinking about when I hear the word Thanksgiving is the great Thanksgiving. The great Thanksgiving that we get to celebrate as Christians. At this church, we typically celebrate it on the first Sunday of each month. And it offers us an opportunity to think differently about what all of this means during this season. The great Thanksgiving that we celebrate as Christians is one that brings bread from the earth as a foundation of our faith. It brings fruit from the vine to offer us new life, all of us. These foundational tenets of our faith bring us back to the Psalm and to the Jeremiah text that God's steadfast love endures forever. God is our refuge and strength. God's promises are always true. Be still and know that God is. God is with us. God never fails us. God is always faithful to us. The only thing that changes is us. We fall away. We lacked trust. We don't sit still and listen. We have defenseless moments against the things of the world that distract us. I'm sure we've all had moments we'd like to forget. But God has already done the hard work of forgiving and forgetting. God sent us so many prophets to try to help communicate, and yet we still can't listen for long. It's no wonder that God had to become manifest in the form of a human who could experience the cycle of life from birth to death so that we could finally receive what we were meant to receive. God's unconditional love for us at any given moment in time. As Jeremiah pointed out, someday God will appoint an honest leader. Someday, God will give us a guide who will be wise and rule with justice. Someday, we will receive this person to lead us and take us where we need to go. And this person's name will be the Lord gives justice. God's promise of a guide and leader to be the bringer of peace and justice also brings us hope, the hope that we so badly need in today's world as we listen to the lists and lists of prayers we have, just as much as they needed it millennia ago. God had to send a man to do the work of God because all of the other actions and words and promises and miracles just weren't enough for frail, fallible humans with minds and hearts that could not comprehend and last today or then. This is where we have come. We are preparing for the great Thanksgiving. We're right on the edge of Advent. We're at the beginning of the coming, the waiting for the waiting. We're getting ready for the hope, peace, love, and joy of God that was created so that we can have an endless number of chances to make our hearts right. Give thanks with a grateful heart. We are reconciled in our humanness by the work of a man speaking God's language in ways that humans can finally understand and hold on to. This week, we get to wait to start waiting. Let's do that, but let's do it with singularity of heart. Let's wait for the waiting with gratefulness of all those many miracles and salvation and mysteries of the thousands of years before that first waiting. Let's wait with the thankfulness of the exodus from Egypt and manna from heaven, with the thankfulness of the covenant of the rainbow. Let's wait with the thankfulness of the slaying of Goliath and the fallen walls of Jericho. Let's wait together with all the love in our hearts for each person present in this room and whose presence is felt but not here with us today. Let's wait and take stock of what all of this waiting is really about. This waiting before the waiting is a great reminder of the God of Noah and Jacob and Jeremiah, who made the promise to give the people a truth teller, a justice giver, a peacemaker. Let's wait to wait. Let's take the time between now and next Sunday to be still and know that God is God. God is with us. God is always faithful to us. And while we wait, let's be grateful for this time right now, in this moment, today, in God's presence together. God is our refuge and strength, and for that, there is no waiting. Amen. And now we get to sing, because apparently I do things backwards. So if you would all join me, and you can stay seated, please. Number 534, Be Still My Soul. I hope you can understand why that's one of my favorite hymns ever. Because we don't always take time to be still. And that's a lesson that I still learn. So as our ushers come forward this morning, I would like to give you a chance to not just offer your financial gifts, but to contemplate how this week you might offer your life differently to yourself, to your spouse, to your friends, to your family, to your neighbors, and think about how life can be offered differently far beyond that. Gracious Lord, you are the giver of all good and wonderful gifts, and today we give back to you, knowing that you can take these promises and these gifts of coin and paper and multiply them for the use of your church here on earth, that this might bring glory to you and your glory here to us. Amen. And I think we have a closing hymn this morning, if I'm reading my bulletin correctly for a change. Give thanks with a grateful heart. And I invite you to stay standing if you're able. If you choose to sit, please do so. However you are comfortable, let's give thanks with a grateful heart together. If you'd like, you may be seated, you may stand, whatever makes you comfortable. But I pray that today you are ready. You're ready to go out and wait, knowing that the promise of God is with you, in you, and surrounding you. May you go with the peace of Christ in your heart, with the communion of the Holy Spirit surrounding you now and always. Amen.
Amen.
home.